Hey there, so this is Courtney, and I've already been doing some postures, so I'm just sitting here in my office. This angle is a little weird, isn't it? Let me come off of this bolster. All right, I'm going to be teaching just a little bit of what is yoga and the 8 limbs of yoga. I've decided to make these videos a little shorter, so let's just get to it. Courtney Robinson here. I'm with Courtney Butler Robinson. I wrote the book, The Mud and the Lotus, and these are the tutorials I'm going over. I'm going through the whole book very slowly. I've already done 3 of the postures, the first 3, and you can look at the book and then find those. So they're in there. They're in my YouTube lineup under yoga and yoga therapy. So if you look at page 1 in section 1, the overview, it says, what is yoga? Let me tell you how to use this book. I modeled this book when I wrote it off of a class I took in college called Study Skills. And in the back, there's a workbook. That would be on page 133. You may have a different version, and the page may be off 1 or 2. You'll see what is yoga, and then there is a key. Let me use this handy dandy note here. And the key is on page 197. So if you don't find the answer in the book, which you will, but let's just say you don't see it, you can use the key. So I'm going to use the overview to teach in the workbook because it will go a lot faster, and you read it yourself first and this will all make sense. So the word yoga means to yoke or unite, right? Yes, together. The root word of yoga is yuj, which also means to bind together. Well, to bind together what? To bind together what? The mind and the body. Those who practice yoga are called yogis. A female who does yoga is called a yogini, and a male who does yoga is called a yogi. So we call people who practice yoga yogis. So it says, why might people be drawn to start a yoga practice? Well, I've been teaching for 20 years. I'm in my 20th year right now. In September, I will have completed 20 years. And what I would say to that is most people who I've asked, and I've taught thousands and thousands of people, is stress relief. Most people come to yoga for stress relief. You also have people who come to yoga for flexibility because they've heard that it helps the mind and the body. You have people who are athletes who come to it for more focus and clarity. But most of the time, people come to it for some form of stress relief and flexibility. They have this belief that will somehow make them better, stronger, more flexible. I'm sure that there are those people out there who come to it for fitness as well. But it is, I don't believe personally through all my studies, as I've been a practitioner for more of my life than I haven't, that yoga was intended to be physical fitness. But that is a byproduct of yoga. Personal antidote. I work out regularly. I do cardio, I do strength, I get on my treadmill, I go hiking. My yoga practice is not for me about physical fitness. I know it is a side benefit for my body, but for me, it is more about moving the energy around in my body, keeping my blood flow and lymph, my circulation, keeping my body healthy and maintaining stress and keeping my nervous system toned. So that's just my 2 cents as a teacher. Take it as or leave it, because we don't all have to agree on everything to get along, right? All right, the 8 limbs of yoga. Define each limb and its subcategory. So if you go back over to the key, you're not going to see that there because you're supposed to read them and define them for yourself. So what do the yamas mean? I often think of the yamas as your ethics, okay? So if you're a Christian, and I'm sure all other religions have something similar to this, this is like the 10 Commandments. This is similar to that, even though this is not a religious practice. It is a philosophical practice, and these guidelines, and this is my understanding, different teachers in different teachings and lineage may come at it a little differently, but I don't think so. Because if you look at the kleshas in the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali, the kleshas are the reasons that we suffer. And yoga was started, from my understanding, as a way to reduce suffering. And so there were wise teachers that wanted to reduce suffering in their people, and they shared this practice, which was passed down for many thousands of years. I have to get a drink of water. I live on a farm, and everything is blooming farm, sweet farm. Yes. So, ahimsa, nonviolence. What does that mean? To be nonviolent, this is going to get into similar. You can talk about how the Bible can be interpreted in many different ways, how different spiritual texts are interpreted. So different teachers may interpret this differently. But it's pretty we all know what nonviolence means. Nonviolence to others, nonviolence to ourselves. What's your self-talk? Are you being kind to other people? If we all practice nonviolence, some people use this one for the reasons for the way that they eat. And again, none of this is a judgment call. I'm just letting you know. So the next one is satya, which is truthfulness. Are you being truthful? It doesn't mean that you have to tell someone they look really bad in their shirt today. Like, oh, that's a terrible shirt on you. But it does mean that in all things we try to be truthful and honest. It doesn't mean that we're so honest that we hurt people's feelings. It just means that you might say, let's say someone said, do you like my shirt? And you might say, well, I really like that pink one better on you. You have to be, that's not the best example, but you guys know general honesty. If you don't tell a lie, then you don't have to think of something to cover a lie. And so being honest. Asteya, non-stealing. And so this one is one, and to me, a person who calls themselves a yogi is someone who follows the yamas and the niyamas first. It's not a person who just follows, asana. So non-stealing, not taking credit for work that's not your own, not using someone else's material that you didn't develop without permission. That would include, so specifically to teachers, I would say some areas where it gets touchy is using the email list. If you work for another teacher, using the Facebook unless you have permission. So for instance, if I go do something for the University of Arkansas and they include me on an email list, right? And it's not appropriate for me to copy all those emails and use it for future trying to sell stuff of mine. I have to ask permission to do that. So that's one. And so not stealing, of course, not taking things that don't belong to you, but also being mindful of what is your own property ethically. And sometimes what is legal and what is ethical is not the same thing. So be mindful that just because something is legal doesn't mean it's ethical. And I had a person who used to work for me, and something happened, and this person said to me, well, it's just business. When someone says that to me, that is a clue that they are wanting to do something unethical. It may be legal, but it may not be ethical. All right, Brahmacharya, moderation, finding balance. And I look at this, a lot of people associate this as the sex one, and it's not. It's just about moderation in all things. It might mean not having illicit sex, like being mindful of honoring your body. And, to me, it's like in Christianity, where Jesus talks about caring for our bodies, and we talk about treating our body as a temple. This is what that is to me. Like, I'm not going to overindulge in something, because what does that create? That creates suffering in me, right? Right now, we're in the big quarantine of 2020, and people are going to the store. My son works as a delivery driver, and he cannot get any Purell because people are hoarding it. That is a perfect example of not following Brahmacharya, right? Not being able to get toilet paper because people are hoarding toilet paper. All right. Some of these, my Sanskrit may be a little rusty. Aparigraha, non-attachment. And boy, that's a hard one, because our attachments, they also serve us, right? I'm very attached to my family. I love my family. I love my husband and my children. I have 6 children, 2 are bonus children, and then 4 that I raised. But what is unhealthy attachment is, let's say my son is dating a girl, and for whatever reason, I don't care for her. That is not my business. That is being too attached. That's being enmeshed. And so finding healthy attachment. Attachment is, let's say I'm super attached to my health and my life. well, I have control. This is ABC water. I'm drinking lemon juice and apple cider vinegar here and water. So I'm attached to my health, but I also know that I can get sick. And I also know that I could die from this. Do I want to die? No. Have I accepted that? Yes. So those are some examples of healthy attachment and unhealthy attachment. All right. Trying to control other people's lives where you don't. This is what you have control of from here back. That's it. Okay. The niyamas. So I look at these about me yama. That's how I help my students remember it. One day that just hit me, and that is mine originally, me yama. You can use it. I don't care. But how am I with my own cleanliness? Do I take care of my body? Do I follow cleansing rituals? Do I eat healthy? Do I take a bath? Do I keep my environment tidy and clean? So what does that do? That reduces suffering, right? If I eat healthy, if I keep my environment clean, it causes me less suffering. I can find things. I feel good. I'm healthier. So I always attach this to these things help us not suffer. Alrighty. So Santosha, this is my favorite. Like, I don't have any tattoos, but if I was gonna get one, this is the one I would get. All right. Santosha is contentment. And, all of these things are things we have to practice, right? We have to practice being content. You're not just, it's great if you wake up every day and you're like, woohoo, sun is shining, it's raining, whatever. This is a conscious practicing gratitude every day. And I don't know about you, but I have to. Humans are wired to look out for things. We are wired. That's why we have a sympathetic nervous system, right? Or that's part of the sympathetic nervous system. What's going to happen next? And in this day and age when things are scary right now, people are getting sick, and I've never seen anything like this in my life. And I've lived through the housing crisis. I've lived through the Cold War. That was scary. This is scary too. And so what will help in that suffering is every day if I get up and I think, I have a home, my children are healthy, my family's healthy right now, we have everything we need. I'm laid off right now from work temporarily, but I have enough money to get by for a couple of months. My husband and I are doing fine, or I could get by for the year, and my husband still has a job. So I am content in the fact that I have everything I need. And so that is, being content. Such a blessing to learn contentment. Contentment doesn't always mean being happy, though. I do want to stress that. You'll hear people say, I deserve to be happy. Contentment is different than happiness or joy. Joy is in the noticing. Joy is in me saying, oh, this little bottle of oil that my friend gave me, it brings me joy. It brings me joy and happiness every time I smell it and I think about the fact that she gave me this. That is not necessarily the same as contentment of me saying, I'm just so thankful. Contentment is I'm thankful for my friend. So, okay. Tapas is discipline or practice. So this mat is a tapas mat. And back when I started practicing, first of all, you could not find a yoga mat. You had to go through a catalog. The internet did not exist. But all mats were called tapas mats. Why were they called tapas mats? Discipline. And this is not like little tapas that you eat. This is, I didn't even know when we went out and they were like, we're going to a tapas bar. I'm like, what? That a discipline bar? But no, tapas is practice or discipline. My exercise routine is a discipline. My yoga practice is a discipline. My meditation is a discipline. My contentment practice or gratitude practice is a discipline. And so then we had Svadhyaya, which is spiritual study. Spiritual, not necessarily religious, but it can be religious. And that is where yoga gets into the fact that it is not a religious practice. It is a philosophical practice. I think of it as science, art, and philosophy that can enhance your religious practice or spiritual practice, no matter whatever it is. It is that connection for me to something inside myself and outside myself. When I go inside to this universe inside of me, I connect to the bigger universe outside of me. For me, that is the Svadhyaya, the spiritual study. As I read the books that I have here, whether it's my Bible or I'm reading the Yoga Sutras or I'm reading the Bhagavad Gita, that is all the study of spiritual studies. All right, so it fills your spiritual life. Okay, Ishvara Pradhana or Pradhan, surrendering to a higher power. So again, this can be done in a secular or a religious way. Sometimes we'll say to the God of your understanding, or I'm going to move this just a hair. Okay, so we might say, turn it over to the God of your understanding. I'm an Al-Anon, and we're not a religious group, but we do say the Serenity Prayer, and we do say the Lord's Prayer at the end. This sometimes we don't, if there's someone there who doesn't feel comfortable with that. But, the Serenity Prayer, oh gosh, let's hope I can only say it a million times, and then every time I need to say it, God grant me the courage to accept the things I cannot change, the wisdom to know the difference, and the strength to change the things I can. I think I murdered that, but those are the words. I just may have mixed them up. But that little prayer for me is the surrender prayer. Let me let go of what I cannot change. Help me know what I have no control over, because that sense of control drives me crazy, quite frankly. Help me be disciplined and content and know and work to change the things I can in my life. Right now, a lot of people are struggling financially. And so I predict that there will be a great discipline of savers that will come out of this. I think this was going to change our economy and the way that we live for the better. I do believe there's going to be a silver lining. I hope everybody stays healthy and well through this. But I have to let go and help me recognize what is in my control and what is out of my control. Not just don't, but help me recognize and see that. And that's hard. And I am a very codependent person. I'm a recovering codependent, and I will probably always be a recovering codependent because I grew up in an alcoholic family, and I'm always trying to control the pieces of the puzzle. I even find myself like trying to control my children's relationship with my ex-husband, their father, to, oh, hey, have you talked to your dad? And, well, maybe you should check with your dad and see if he's okay. And I'm like, why am I doing that? It's not my business. And that is extremely codependent. But through the practice, through my discipline of studying yoga, going to Al-Anon, which is, if you're not familiar, a group for people who have family members that have addiction, I've learned to recognize when I'm doing that, and I turn it over. I surrender it. God, take this from me. Take this from me today. I give this over to you. Please bless this person and take care of it and take this burden off of me and bless them. So I hope that has been helpful. We're going to go on through the 8 limbs now. That was limb 1 and 2. And now we have the rest of them. So we have asana. What is asana? The postures. So those are the postures. And the postures, that's pretty simple, but the postures have a lot bigger meaning. They help to move energy through our bodies. And so I work in cardiac care, and we have what we call the plumbers and the electricians. The plumbers are the ones who do the stents and clean out the plaque, and the electricians are the one that control the pacemakers and things like that. So if you think of it like that, asana moves lymph through the body. It helps to move deoxygenated blood out of the organs, oxygenated blood back in. But it also helps to move this stuck energy in our bodies. And that's where you get into the chakras and understanding all of that. We're not going to go there right now because that's a lot. But asana practice, think of it as a way to move not only the physical body, your muscles, your blood, your lymph, but also to move the energy in your body. Have you ever had an experience where someone did something that hurt you? Like maybe a friend, you found out that a friend wasn't really a friend, and you got this this gut sinking feeling. Well, that can stick. And let's say you don't deal with it, and then you don't express it. So then all of a sudden you start having problems with your thyroid or in your belly. That's the kind of stuckness we're talking about. They used to call that ama. Let's see, we're still going. Yeah, they didn't used to call it. It's called ama in Sanskrit. So it's the stuckness. Okay, that's enough about that. That's what asana helps to do. Pranayama is your breathing exercises and your breathing techniques. Prana is life. And so when we talk about the practice of breathing, we're not just talking about respiration. We're talking about the life in your body. When I'm born, life comes into my body. When I die, life goes out of my body. And all the breaths in between are my life. I'm living. I can't live without breath. And learning to control that breath helps to control the quality and well-being of my life. It also oxygenates your blood. Your organs need oxygen to function properly. And breath practice helps bring more oxygen through your pulmonary wall into your blood. All right, pratyahara, sense withdrawal. So again, I didn't want to make these too long. We're already at 21 minutes. So pratyahara is letting go of your senses. So when I close my eyes and I think about, okay, I focus on what can I see? I see the lamp and my desk and the sky and the floor and this computer. When I close my eyes and I focus on what can I hear the hum of my air conditioner. So that is, you're moving your senses. It's the slow withdrawal of bringing your senses in. It's often when we go into Shavasana, we close our eyes, we cover up with a blanket maybe, or when we go into meditation in a chair, we start to settle in. That is that moving inward. And then we have Dharana, which is the ability to focus on an object. So let's say the teacher is having you focus on your breath. You're focusing on your breath. And so this begins to move your concentration from your extremities, your senses here, to your breath. Your breath connects your mind and your body. And then we go into dhyana, which is meditation. As we start to focus on the breath and we connect down into our body begins to focus. And we become into this still, quiet place. Now that doesn't always happen, does it? No, because the mind is like a wanderer. It travels to the past. It travels to the future. But we begin to notice that. We start to notice. And I'm pointing to the back of my head because it's literally in this part of the head that we consider the witness observer. And every time I say the medulla oblongata, someone says something about the movie Waterboy, which I have never seen. But it is the medulla. Oh, don't lock up on me. Shoot.